إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهديه الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم. So last class we took the statement of the author عليه رحمة الله where he said وذلك أن السنة والجماعة قد أحكم أمر الدين كله وتبين للناس فعلى الناس الاتباع. So the statement of the author Imam al-Barbahārī rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, and that is because the sunnah and the jama'ah have been perfected. They have perfected the entirety of the religion and it has become clear to the people. So therefore it's upon the people to follow. Very quickly, with regard to some of the benefits that we took last class, the Shaykh, the explainer of this treatise or this work, Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan, he used the term al-Firqatu Najiyah, the saved sect. Last class we mentioned some other synonyms that are used to refer back to Ahl-Sunnah. And one of the synonyms that were mentioned was the term Salafi, for a person to call himself Salafi. So we mentioned that there's nothing wrong with a person calling himself Salafi. We mentioned the statement of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah as well as others. What was the issue, however, that can cause a person, or the situation in which it would not be permissible for a person to say that he's a Salafi?
If he say that's the only name, the proper way that it's going to be the only saved sect, like if you ain't Salafi, you ain't going to be saved.
You mean in terms of the name, just the name itself?
You just say like, if someone say they Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, because they not saying they Salafi.
Okay.
And that's a problem.
No, that's the issue. If a person was just to say that you have to say Salafi, you can't say Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, you can't say Ahlul Hadith, that's correct. But there's another reason that was also mentioned by Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan.
If he is not a Salafi,
If he's not truly Salafi, if a person is just making a claim, person says he's Salafi, but at the same time he's calling people to revolt against the rulers, or he has mukhalafat, he has like issues when it comes to his creed and his methodology. In that situation, if he was to say that he's Salafi, then it's just a claim. It's a false claim. It's not permissible. There's also another reason. We wouldn't say that it's not permissible to say that you're Salafi, but it's awla. It's better to not use the term. It's another scenario, another case when it's better not to use the term. When is that?
the purpose of the da'wah call for it.
Now, if there's a maslaha, rajiha, like there's a benefit, a greater benefit, and not saying that you're Salafi. So, for example, the scholars have mentioned this example specifically. If a person lives in a locality, they live in a country or a city or a town, and using the term Salafi is going to chase people away, or it's going to be a reason for people perhaps not embracing the da'wah, then it's better to not use the term. It's better to not use the term. However, it's still at the same time is obligatory for a person to be Salafi, even if you're not using the term. Some of the scholars, such as Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions it's obligatory. Because the reason why you say Salafi, they say is laqab tashrif, laqab tamyiz. Right? This is like a nickname of honor. It's a nickname to show distinction. So when you say you're Salafi, you're saying you're not Sufi, you're not Shi'i, you're not Rafili, you're not Mu'tazili, and so on and so forth. It's a term that's used to distinguish yourself from Ahlul Bid'ah. So that's the purpose. But nonetheless, if a person is in one of those type of situations where he's, perhaps it could be applicable to here. You're out and about and you go to a masjid and you meet some brothers and they ask you, what type of Muslim are you? Perhaps the maslahah might be just to say, I follow Quran and Sunnah, depending on who you're speaking to. You can't say it's not it's obligatory for you not to say that you're Salafi, but perhaps the maslahah or the benefit might be greater in that situation that you just don't use the term. But nonetheless, it's obligatory upon you to be Salafi, even if you're not using the term. You have to be Salafi in terms of your methodology, in terms of your creed. And we mentioned the narration because some Muslims, they get upset when you start using terms. They say, you shouldn't be using terms, you shouldn't be calling this one Ikhwani, you shouldn't be calling him Tablighi, you shouldn't be calling him Sufi, so on and so forth. You guys are dividing the Muslims. We mentioned the narration of Aisha radiallahu anha when the woman came to her and she said, why is it that the women, when they're mincing, they make up the fast, but they don't make up the prayer? And Aisha radiallahu anha asked her, she said, Aharuriyatun anti. Right? She said, and this term right here was used to refer to the Khawarij. So Aisha radiallahu anha, she's one of the mothers of the believers. She used this term to get clarity as to what this woman was upon. Because this is something that these people used to do. They used to force the women, when they were on their menses, to make up, or after they got off their menses, to make up their prayers. In addition to their fasting. They made things very difficult for the women. So, this labeling and making this distinction is something that was found all the way back in the time of the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba. It's not something that's new.
It's stated in the Quran that certain ayahs in the Quran referring to that, like women don't have to make up their prayers for menses.
It's clarified in the Sunnah. It's clarified in the Sunnah. It's clarified in the Sunnah. But the point that we're making is that this was something in terms of the labeling. This was something that was present all the way back then. So a person can't come now in 1446, 2024 and say that you Muslims are using these labels and these terms and you're causing division. No, the reality is these people, the Sufiya, the Shia, the Rawafid, and so on and so forth, they are the ones that are causing the division in the Ummah. Because once you go and you openly call to a methodology and a way other than that which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba were upon, then in reality you are the one who is dividing the Ummah. You are the one who's causing the fitna.
Actually, the names of all the other sects don't have no meaning as the same as all the names of the same sect. Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Hadith, Salafi, all they got the same meaning. You break down the meaning, they mean the same. When you break down what Shiite means, what Sufi means,
Right.
you know,
No,
it's
actually,
different.
no.
So that's where the sects come in, right?
No,
there.
in general,
Different.
in general, as the brother just alluded to, like when it comes to the terms Ahlul Hadith, Ahlul Athar, As-Salafiyun, these are terms that have a basis that goes back to the book and the Sunnah. As for Ahlul Bid'ah, what do you find? Usually the name of the sect goes back to the founder of that sect. That's usually the case. Not every time, but usually it goes back to the name of the founder of the sect. So it's not something that's based upon the Quran and the Sunnah. Now, so tonight we're going to continue where we left off. بإذن الله. قال المؤلف رحمه الله واعلم رحمك الله واعلم رحمك الله أن الدين إنما جاء من قبل الله تبارك وتعالى. So the author, Imam al-Barbahārī rahimahullah ta'ala said, he said, know and realize, may Allah have mercy upon you, that the religion, it only came from Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. لم يوضع على عقول الرجال وآرائهم. It was not placed upon the intellects and the views of men. وعلمه عند الله وعند رسوله. And the knowledge of it is with Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فلا تتبع شيئا بهواك. So therefore do not follow anything with your desire. فتمرق من الدين فتخرج من الإسلام. And thus go astray from the religion and leave the religion of Islam. فإنه لا حجة لك. You have no proof or evidence for this. فقد بين رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لأمته السنة. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam has clarified to his ummah the sunnah. وَأَوْضَحَهَا لِأَصْحَابِهِ. And he has clarified it to his companions. وَهُمُ الْجَمَاعَةِ. And they are al-jama'ah. وَهُمُ السَّوَادُ الْأَعْظَمِ. And they are السَّوَادُ الْأَعْظَمِ. وَالسَّوَادُ الْأَعْظَمِ الْحَقُّ وَأَهْلُهُ. And what's referred or what's being implied by as-sawadul a'zam is the truth and the people who are upon the truth. فَمَنْ خَالَفَ أَصْحَابَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ فِي شَيْءٍ مِّنْ أَمْرِ الدِّينِ فَقَدْ كَفَرَ. Pay attention to this one. He said, whoever opposes what the companions of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam were upon in any affair of the religion, then he has committed kufr. He has committed kufr. So this is going to be explained. We're not going to, it can't just be left, unrestricted like that. It's going to be explained later on. فَمَنْ خَالَفَ أَصْحَابَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم. Whoever opposes the companions of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Where's Mu'adh? Get him. Okay. So in the explanation, Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan, he says, الدين إنما جاء من عند الله. The religion, it only came from Allah Azza wa Jal. فهو الذي شرع الدين سبحانه. He is the one who has legislated the religion for us. ليس لأحد أن يشرع دينا لم يأذن الله به. It's not for any person. It doesn't matter who that person is. It's not for any person to legislate a religion that Allah did not permit. قال تعالى أم لهم شركاء شرعوا لهم من الدين ما لم يأذن به الله. And this is found in Surah Ash-Shura. The meaning of the verse, or do they have partners? Do they have partners who legislate for them of the religion that which Allah did not permit? هذا استنكار وتحذير. This is a rebuke and it's a warning. فالدين هو ما شرعه الله. The religion is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has legislated. وَبَلَّغَهُ رَسُولُهُ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. And His Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم has conveyed. هذا هو الدين الذي قال الله جل وعلا فيه شرع لكم من الدين ما وصى به نوحا والذي أوحينا إليك وما وصينا به إبراهيم وموسى وعيسى أن أقيموا الدين ولا تتفرقوا فيه. And this is the religion that Allah Jalla wa Ala said concerning the meaning of the verse. And He has legislated for you of the religion that which He has ordained for Nuh, and that which He revealed to you, meaning the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that which He ordained for Ibrahim, Musa, and Isa, that they establish the religion and that they do not have any type of division therein. هذا هو شريعة الأنبياء خصوصا هؤلاء الخمسة. This is the legislation of the prophets, specifically these five. Ulul Azm. This term, Ulul Azm, which you could, for lack of better translation, the prophets are strong will. They're mentioned in this verse that we just mentioned. It's five prophets. Who are they? We just mentioned the verse. Nuh, Musa, Ibrahim, Isa, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. With regard to the tartib or the order, then of course the best of them is our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Who's the next prophet in terms of fadila or afdalila? Ibrahim alayhi salam, Khalilullah. He's the best after Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Then who? Musa alayhi salam. Then who? So Ibn Kathir alayhi rahmatullah, he mentioned in his tafsir, وَلَا خِلَافٍ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ أَفْضَلُهُم. So Ibn Kathir in his tafsir, he said there's no difference of opinion that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is the best of them. ثُمَّ بَعْدَهُ إِبْرَاهِيم. Then after him, Ibrahim alayhi salam. ثُمَّ مُوسَى عَلَى الْمَشْهُورِ. And then after Ibrahim, Musa alayhi salam. Now with regard to Nuh and Isa alayhi salam, there's a difference of opinion. Some of the scholars, they make tawaqquf, because you don't have an explicit text to state otherwise. But nonetheless, these are the best. Starting with Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then Ibrahim, and then Musa. With regard to Nuh and Isa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. So these are ulul azm. These are the best of the prophets and the messengers alayhim salatu wassalam. He says, هذا دينهم. This is their religion. فمن حاد عنه أو اختلف عنه هلك وضل. So whoever deviates or strays from their religion, or he differs concerning their religion, then this individual will be destroyed and he has gone astray. وهو مبني على توحيد الله عز وجل. And this is based upon what? The tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jal. All of the prophets and the messengers, from Adam alayhi salam into the time of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the goal, their ultimate objective was what? At-Tawheed. And this is what the da'i, the person who calls to Allah, is supposed to begin with when he gives da'wah. If you find a person giving da'wah and his main concern is to tell people that Muslim men can marry 4 wives, or that women, they have to obey their husbands and they have to wear hijab and so on and so forth. We can't say that, of course, these are a part of the religion, but that's not what you start with. You don't start with telling a non-Muslim you can't eat pork. If they ask you what is Islam, and you start telling them you can't eat spam, you can't drink intoxicants, you got to stop going to the club. No, that's not how you start your da'wah. First, you say the most important aspect is at-Tawheed, monotheism. Perhaps if you start with those other things, a person, they don't want to hear nothing after that. Because you're telling them they got to stop doing everything that they're doing right now. So you start with the most important thing, which is the Tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jalla. This is the call of all of the prophets and the messengers alayhim as-salatu was-salam. وَتَرْكِ عِبَادَةِ مَا سِوَاهُ, and to abandon the worship of other than Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَتَقَيُّدِ بِمَا شَرَعَهُ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ, and to restrict oneself to what Allah Azza wa Jalla has legislated. وَالْإِبْتِعَادِ عَمَّا حَرَّمَهُ اللَّهُ, and to stay away from that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made forbidden. هَذَا هُوَ الدِّينِ, this is the religion. Now the next point that's going to be mentioned, I want everyone to focus on this point. قوله لم يوضع على عقول الرجال وآرائهم. The religion, it was not placed upon the intellects and the views of men. The religion, it was not placed upon the intellects and the views of men. Shaykh Fawzan, he says, ليس الدين ما استحسنه الرجال أو رأوه. Right? The religion is not what people deem to be good or they view to be good. فإن هذا ليس دين الله. This is not the religion of Allah. هذا دين الناس الذي أحدثوه. This is the religion of the people which they innovated. أما دين الله عز وجل فهو الذي شرعه. As for the religion of Allah, then it is what He has legislated. أما ما رآه الناس أما ما رآه الرجال بآرائهم فهذا ليس هو دين الله سبحانه وتعالى. As for what people view and deem, in terms of their opinions and so on and so forth, then this is not the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وإنما هو دين من رآه. This is the religion of the one who views it to be such. فلا ينسب إلى الله من الدين إلا ما شرعه على لسان رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So nothing is to be attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when it comes to the religion except that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislated upon the tongue of His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. وَمَا شَرَعَهُ غَيْرُهُ لَا يُنسَبُ إِلَى اللَّهِ. And what has been legislated by other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not to be attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِنَّمَا يُنسَبُ إِلَى مَنْ شَرَعَ. It's only to be attributed to the one who legislated. وَاللَّهُ بَرِيءٌ مِّنْهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free of him. قال تعالى, and He reiterates the verse from Surah Ash-Shura, أَمْ لَهُمْ شُرَكَاءُ شَرَعُوا لَهُمْ مِنَ الدِّينِ مَا لَمْ يَأْذَنْ بِهِ اللَّهُ. Or do they have partners who legislate for them of the religion that which Allah did not permit? And in this regard, when it comes to following one's opinions and views, then we have the well-known statement of Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu, where he said, لو كان الدين بالرأي لكان أسفل الخف أولى بالمسح من أعلى. He said, if the religion was based upon opinion, if our religion was based upon a person's view or his opinion, then the bottom of the khuf would have been more appropriate to wipe than the top of it. When a person wipes his khuf, or he wipes his sock when he's making wudu, where does he wipe? The top of it. He said if the religion was based upon your intellect, it would have been more suitable to wipe the bottom. When you're walking, where is the filth or how is your khuf or your sock going to get dirty? On the bottom, right? If your religion was based upon your intellect, it would have been more suitable to wipe the bottom of the khuf and not the top. Where do we wipe? The top. We wipe the top of the khuf or the sock. وَلَقَدْ رَأَيْتُ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ يَمْسَحُ عَلَى ظَاهِرِ خُفَّيْهِ. But Ali radiallahu anhu said, I saw the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam wiping on the top of his khuf. And likewise, it was narrated by Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu that he went to al-Hajar al-Aswad, right, the black stone, that's by the Kaaba. فَقَبَّلَهُ, right, he kissed it. And he said, إِنِّي لَا أَعْلَمُ أَنَّكَ حَجَرٌ لَا تَضُرُّ وَلَا تَنْفَعُ. He said, I know good and well that you're just a rock, you can't benefit me, and you can't harm me. وَلَوْلَا رَأَيْتُ النَّبِيَّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ يُقَبِّلُكَ مَا قَبَّلْتُكَ. If I didn't see the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam kiss you, then I would not have kissed you. If a person wants to use his intellect, then he would say, this is just a rock. It doesn't have any significance. It can't benefit me. It can't harm me. But what's the reason why a person does it? Because the Prophet ﷺ did it. It's that simple. So a person can't use his intellect. Yes, there's a benefit and there's a reason why we have an intellect. Shaykh Muqbil alayhi rahmatullah, he mentioned, Allahu an'ama alayka bi'aql. He said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you intellect. لكن لا لتعارض به الكتاب والسنة. But not for you to oppose the Quran and Sunnah with it. Most people, unfortunately, when they use their intellect, they try to be all intellectual, act like they're so smart, and they try to act like they can interpretate texts in a way that scholars in the past, no scholars in the past ever interpreted it as such. I'll give you an example. Yasir Qadhi, well-known individual who caused the misguidance. He was asked, or he was speaking, this is some years ago, and he was talking about Ya'juj and Ma'juj, the Gog and Magog. Right? They're going to come at the end of time. People from the progeny of Adam. So he said that Ya'juj and Ma'juj basically, essentially, are going to be like zombies. They're going to be like zombies. And any person who's watched a movie and you see how a zombie is, it's basically like a person that's dead and, they're like in a trance. They're basically just out to kill everybody like that. He said they're basically going to be like zombies. Who, from the scholars, the contemporary scholars, and the scholars that lived hundreds of years ago, who preceded him in that statement? This is the problem. When a person thinks he's so smart, he thinks he's so intellectual, that he feels that he can give verdicts or he can give his opinion about something that no scholar preceded him in. And in this regard, you have the well-known statement of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah ta'ala. He said, إِيَّاكَ أَن تَتَكَلَّمَ فِي مَسْأَلَةٍ لَيْسَ لَكَ فِيهَا إِمَامٍ. He said, beware of talking about an issue in the religion and you have no scholar preceding you. This was Imam Ahmad rahimahullah ta'ala, the Imam Ahl-Sunnah. So how much more so for the people who live in this day and time? I don't care if they have a master's degree or a doctor's degree from an Islamic university. That doesn't qualify you to just speak from the jade, as they say, min al-kis, a person just shooting from the hip. You don't have that type of authority. A person has to speak with knowledge. So, Imam Muqbil, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you, he favored you with the intellect. Alhamdulillah, we're not like animals, we're not like cats and dogs that rely on their natural instinct. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you, or he favored you with the intellect. لكن لا لتعارض به الكتاب والسنة. But it's not for you to use it to go against the Quran and the Sunnah. بل لتفهم به الكتاب والسنة. Rather, he gave you this intellect so that you could use it to understand the Quran and the Sunnah. قوله, his statement, عليه رحمة الله, وعنده وعلمه عند الله وعند رسوله. And his knowledge is with Allah and his Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. أمور الدين توقيفية. So this is very important. When it comes to issues of the religion, then it's tawqifiyya. What does that mean? Tawqifiyya. لا توقيفية. Naam, it has to be based upon text from the book and the Sunnah. Tawqifiyya. So when it comes to worship, you have to have a text. You have to have a text. A person can't just, start worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way that he deems to be good. No, you have to have a text from the book and the sunnah. So when it comes to affairs of the religion, it's tawqifiyya. لا بد من الأدلة عن الله ورسوله في أمور الدين. There has to be some proof and evidence from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam when it comes to affairs of the religion. يتقيد بما جاء في الكتاب والسنة من أمور الدين. So it has to be restricted to what has come in the book and the sunnah when it comes to affairs of the religion. وَتُتْرَكُ الْمُحْدَثَاتِ وَالْبِدْعِ الَّتِي مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ بِهَا مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ. And, the newly introduced matters and innovations that Allah did not send down any authority for are to be abandoned. وَإِنْ كَانَ أَهْلُهَا يَرَوْنَهَا دِينًا. Even if the people who do it consider it to be a part of the religion. وَيَتَقَرَّبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ بِهَا. And they seek nearness to Allah by way of it. فَنَحْنُ لَا نَلْتَفِتُ إِلَيْهَا. We don't pay any mind to this. What the people do in terms of what they deem to be good and what they take as a religion, even though it doesn't have any basis in the book and the sunnah, then we don't pay any mind to that. وَلَا نُؤْمِنُ بِهَا. We don't believe in it. لِأَنَّ دِينَ اللَّهِ مَا شَرَعَهُ هُوَ وَرَسُولُهُ. Because the religion of Allah is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislated and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. لأن الدين مبني على العلم الذي جاء من عند الله ورسوله. And this is what already mentioned. ولا تتبع أهواء الناس وآراء الناس. So do not follow the desires of people and their opinions. وما استحسنوه. And what they deem to be good. And when it comes to what a person considers to be good, then that is relative. What one individual might deem to be good, another person might deem it to be bad. So it's not about what people deem to be good or what they view to be good. وَمَا تَتَابَعُوا عَلَيْهِ. And what they follow. وَهُوَ لَيْسَ لَهُ أَصْلٌ فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ أَوْ سُنَّةِ رَسُولِهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. And there's no basis, there's no foundation for it in the book of Allah and the sunnah of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام من أحدث في أمرنا هذا ما ليس منه فهو رد. As the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام said, that whoever innovates into this affair of ours, that which is not from it, then it will be rejected. وفي رواية من عمل عملا ليس عليه أمرنا فهو رد. And whoever does a deed that's not in accordance to our affair, then it will be rejected. فالذي يريد أن يكون عمله صالحا مفيدا فعليه بأمرين. So the person who wants his deed to be righteous, that's the first thing, and a benefit, then he has to adhere to two affairs. What are they?
Got to be intentions solely for the sake of Allah.
It has to be sincerely for Allah.
According to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Nah, it has to be according to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the first thing, ikhlasu dinihi lillah min ash-shirk. Right? It has to be sincerely for Allah Azza wa Jalla. It has to be free from ash-shirk, from polytheism, whether it's major polytheism or minor polytheism. What's an example of minor polytheism? Ar-riya. It was explained that like this in a hadith explicitly, showing off, doing good deeds in order to be praised by others. Doing good deeds to get some type of recognition from the people. And this is something that every single one of us constantly has to be mindful of. It comes in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, the shirku fikum akhfa min dabib an-nam. That a shirk amongst you is more hidden than the movement of an ant. The movement of an ant. Oh, imagine an ant. No one's paying attention to an ant. He says it's more hidden than the movement of an ant.
Black rock.
I think perhaps another word of the hadith. Now. Okay. Now, I mean, the Prophet ﷺ was addressing the Sahaba. Yeah, subhanAllah, takhayyal. Imagine that. He's not addressing us, he's addressing the Sahaba. And in this hadith, the hadith that I'm referring to, he was addressing Abu Bakr, radiyallahu anhu. Abu Bakr, radiyallahu anhu, when he heard this, he said, isn't a shirk just ascribing partners in the worship of Allah? The Prophet ﷺ reiterated himself. He said, La shirku fikum akhfa min dabib an-naml. He said, a shirk amongst you is more hidden than the movement of an ant. He's talking to the best of the Sahaba. He's not just talking to any Sahaba, he's talking to the best of the Sahaba. And then the Prophet ﷺ directed him to what he should say to rid himself of the major shirk as well as the minor shirk. اللهم إني أعوذ بك أن أشرك بك وأنا أعلم وأستغفرك لما لا أعلم. Oh Allah, I seek refuge with you that I commit a shirk with you and I know. And I seek your forgiveness for that which I don't know. And this shows that a person can commit shirk and he's unaware about it. A person's intention, perhaps a person, he's doing a good deed, but the shaitan or his nafs got the best of him and he's doing his deed to show off. So this is a supplication that if we haven't memorized it, then we need to go to the fortress of the Muslim and memorize it. This is a hadith every single Muslim should memorize. It's a means to protect yourself from a shirk, whether it's major shirk or minor shirk. Naam, so those are the two conditions for a person's deeds being accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إخلاص دينه لله من الشرك. It has to be done sincerely for Allah Azza wa Jal, free of a shirk. والأمر الثاني اتباعه سنة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. It has to be in accordance to the sunnah of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. وإخلاصه من البدع والمحدثات. It has to be sincere and free of innovation and newly invented matters. وسيجد الإنسان مخالفات في العقيدة مخالفات في العبادات كثيرة. A person, he's going to find that there are a lot of actions that are opposition to the creed. There's a lot of things that are opposition to acts of worship. There are a lot of things. الناس لهم أهواء. The people, they have their desires. وَلَهُمْ رَغَبَاتٍ. They have their lust and so on and so forth. وَلَهُمْ آراء. They have their views. وَلَهُمْ طُرُقٍ. They have their different ways. فَنَحْنُ لَا نَتَّبِعُ النَّاسِ. We do not follow people like that. We don't just follow people. بَلْ نَعْرِضُ مَا عَلَيْهِ النَّاسِ عَلَى الْكِتَابِ وَالسُّنَّةِ. Rather, we examine what the people are upon based in light of the book and the sunnah. فَمَا وَافَقَ الْكِتَابَ وَالسُّنَّةِ فَهُوَ حَقٌّ. Whatever is in accordance to the Quran and the sunnah, then it's the truth. وَمَا خَالَفَهُمَا فَهُوَ بَاطِلٌ. And whatever is in opposition to the book and the sunnah, then it's falsehood. And with that, inshallah, we'll suffice for tonight. وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.